Did you mean to say that in an English accent? No. What's up everyone, it's Richard. Today I'm doing a Q&A. So I asked on my Instagram what people wanted to know about me, opinions, whatever it may be, and I got a whole bunch of questions, a couple of hundred actually. So I've picked out some of my favourite questions and we're going to go through them today. So I've got them all on my phone just now. Each person who's asked me a question is going to get an individual shout out. If you ask me something stupid and you're concerned about me potentially ridiculing, that's a good clip, innit? Me saying ridiculing wrong. Dumb motherfucker. If you are scared of me making fun of you, your family, your children, anyone that matters to you that potentially will have been on your Instagram profile, just close this video now. Because some of these questions are good, but some of them have hit me where it hurts. So the first one I'm going to answer is from Jay Ballantyne. Why are St Mirren so bad? Now, we're having statistically our best season ever just now. So St Mirren aren't doing too bad. When I clicked on your Instagram, I did see that it looks like you play for fucking Tollcross United or something, so I don't know that you're in a position to talk about the state of affairs at a top 6 SPL club, but I hope things get better for you anyway. So Andy Gia, the owner of Winner Clothing, someone I've spoken to a lot, nice guy. He's asked me, daily, weekly obstacles you face as an entrepreneur, how do you overcome it? Now this is me just reading these off the rip, by the way. I've not done any prep or I've got no answers here, it's just straight off Instagram. Daily obstacles in entrepreneurship, it changes every single day. Entrepreneurship's an ever-changing landscape, right? Business in general, especially when you do stuff in the online space like we do with Yes, and also having a very traditional business in terms of what I do with my property business as well. So the obstacles change every single day. One thing I would say though, as stuff goes on, you need to accept that your problems are going to get bigger in terms of the financial value. I don't mean bigger as in the problems themselves are going to get worse, but you know, back when I first started, I might have been, you know, really concerned about having to say collect an invoice for £1,000 or 1,500 quid, right? And now I'm in a position where potentially the invoices I have to chase now are £20,000 or £30,000. So I'm also in a position where I'm affected less chronically by that. Before I might have been going, oh my God, I really need that money to pay off my ad spend for that campaign or whatever. Thankfully now I'm a bit more comfortable. But just understanding in your head that your problems are always going to change, and generally, as you get bigger, your income gets bigger, your organisations get bigger, so do the problems that come along with it. So overcoming it is, for me, I don't find that a huge stress because I love what I do. I have a great income, a great life. I get in lovely cars every day, regardless of whether I'm like driving to the office or I'm driving to pick up my family and going to the football. I get all of the things that I've dreamed of having since a very young age. So I understand and accept that these stresses are part of my life and I'm always just going to have to deal with those. So John McGowan has asked me, SQ7 or X5 M50D, what one are you going for? Now I'm guessing if you're asking diesel when it comes to the X5, you're going to be meaning the TDI SQ7. I love the SQ7. I think it's absolutely beautiful. If you'd have asked me this before I'd bought my X3M comp, I would probably have said SQ7. Believe it or not, I've never actually owned an Audi, so I'm not super well versed in them. I've never had a shot of an RS car or an S car for that matter either. I'm going to say X5 M50D. I've never driven one. I imagine they're amazing. I love the interior on my X3, but both of those cars you're not going to go wrong with. Efficient, very well styled, large and usable for everyday use, and both very fast. Brian Ferns asked me, how was your life as an apprentice electrician? It was shit. It was shit. Now, being a spark, to be totally honest, is like the least worst out of the trades in my opinion. Yeah, I was a domestic guy, so I had to crawl under floorboards all the time and go into lofts, and it wasn't always the cleanest form of being an electrician. You guys that work in commercial, putting fucking conduit and trunking up in some stupid industrial unit, user losers, right? You don't know what a fucking real day's work is. But the hardest thing for me was working for my dad. Dad didn't have like a big business or anything. It was him, a sole trader. He got funding off the Scottish Government to take me on as an apprentice. That was the hardest bit. And I think that would have been whether I was working for my dad in any capacity, not just an electrician. That was the hardest thing I found about that. And I think that maybe clouds my judgment of my apprenticeship in general, just because my dad was there, and I think it affected our relationship in some ways. We've never had like a massive fallout or anything. It just adds more stress to your family dynamic, especially when you're living at home. So I wouldn't recommend, it's not the same for everyone, but I wouldn't recommend doing an apprenticeship. Now, also, it could have been much worse had I done my apprenticeship with someone else. My dad, to a degree, was very understanding and a great electrician to boot as well. But yeah, I'm glad I don't do that anymore. Being an electrician is a good job, but I'm not interested in having a good life. I want a great life, an exceptional life. That's what I'm here for. Anonymous _ 12983476655, who doesn't even fucking follow me, so God knows how you were able to ask this question. What advice would you give your 16-year-old self? To be honest, I'm not too bothered with my roadmap of my life. I'm not going to go and say that my apprenticeship, etc., was wasted time. It gave me a lifetime of, learning, real life experience in a hard workplace and a manual labour workplace. So I don't really look at anything I've done and go, wow, that was a huge waste of time, I wish I didn't do it. Because also, I don't think I was mentally mature enough at 16, 17, 18 to even consider business ownership. And I actually imagine, because I'm someone who previously has suffered from burnout a lot with sports and academia and stuff like that, I think that if I'd tried entrepreneurship at 16, 17 and failed at a venture, I probably would have convinced myself in my head that business was just not for me, it doesn't work, blah, 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 and I could potentially be sitting here today still as an electrician or potentially an electrical engineer had I choose to go down that route after finishing my apprenticeship. So, to be honest, advice for my 16-year-old self, make sure you tap to that armbar on the 12th of December 2017 when you're fighting for the flyweight title with On Top and the Onyx, because you didn't tap in real life, Richard, and you detached the tendon that attaches your bicep to your arm and you've fractured your arm as well, so make sure and tap. I am Filius Thierry, shout out you, my man, asked me, what's entrepreneurial intelligence according to me? It's being able to make fast, comprehensive decisions. You need to have a certain degree of fast acting, fucking mentality, whatever you want to call it, because not everything you can dwell on and take time on, and if you're in a business and you are someone like that, you will end up creating a backlog in your life, and that can create a lot of stress. Entrepreneurial intelligence to me is someone who can make good decisions fast, and that's also, by the way, making good decisions doesn't mean it's an easy decision to make. This can be hiring and firing people. This can be making large investments. Being an entrepreneur is a lot about managing risk, not avoiding it, because there is no such thing as an entrepreneurial or business venture or an investment that is risk-free. But good entrepreneurial intelligence is someone that can conduct appropriate due diligence, take action fast, and consistently produce results. One of the points I wanted to go back on that I made a minute ago, talking about what advice I'd have for my 16-year-old self and how I could have burned myself out so young. It's funny because whilst I've been going through those questions there, that took me back to the very start of when I decided to actually create Yes. It started as Young Entrepreneurs Scotland, then became the Entrepreneur Society and all that kind of stuff. I think that's the whole reason why I done that, is to try and be that building block or that bridge between people who are thinking about potentially doing a business very young, because we have students in there from the ages of 16, 17 up until, even though it's the Young Entrepreneur Society, there's no age limit. We've got people in the late 40s in there as well, doing amazing things also. And I think that's the whole reason, fundamentally at the start, why I created that, because I know I didn't have the mental fortitude or intelligence or maturity to go and do that. So if that's part of what we can give people in our communities and help them achieve success faster, because that's not me saying I wouldn't change my journey in terms of I wouldn't like to be 19 again with a McLaren, a Rolls Royce and all the things I do have. Of course I would. I'd like to be as young as possible and have the things I have now. I think that's part of what we're building here with the Yes movement, what we're trying to give to the community as well. Kai Morris has asked me, what is my goal for this year? So I'm going to just grab a couple, because one goal is very tough. So I would like to add at least another £1 million to my own net worth in 2023. That one's pretty simple. I guess how it is going to be done isn't as simple as just saying it, but It's not something I haven't done before, so it's just that I want to add more to what I do just now. I'd also like to partner with at least 10 yes students, and actually come in and build businesses with them together. I see the things that they do every single day, read through all the chats and all the different achievements, and I would love to actually have more involvement with the community in terms of working on their individual ventures, because so many people in there are doing so many amazing things that me, from I guess a kind of interest perspective, I also want to get involved in, because I see great potential in those people and those businesses. Luke Mahoney asked me, what is your opinion on a property management business? I don't know, like, answering these types of questions can be tough, right? Because I know people in every industry, every niche who have went and made money. So if you're asking me, can you make money in a property management business? Yes, absolutely. Whether you are a factor or you're carrying out repairs, whether you are doing management in terms of you're just purely a letting agent, you're managing tenancies, whether that be commercial or residential. But for me, would I start a property management business? Absolutely not. It's not in my interest. It's not something I'm passionate about. People always say that to me, Richard, with what you do in your property ventures, why don't you start your own estate agency for some of the leads that, you know, aren't good enough for your criteria? Why don't you start a lettings company and you can manage all your clients' properties? That's the last fucking thing I want to do in the world. I can't imagine anything more stressful. I'm very good at what I do, and I don't see any point of bridging away from that. But you might think that's a great idea or a way to make money that you're interested in. And if so, go for it. You can make money in it. It's just not something I would do. Josiah Leslie _1 asked me, what age did I start working for myself? I was like 22 and 8 months or so, roughly. Murray W _, are you into techno? I would rather lick a homeless man's ass than listen to techno. Techno is the shittest genre available, in my opinion. Alexander Coghill asked me, what's better, HP or PCP? So for those of you who don't know, that's types of car finance, hire purchase or personal contract purchase. I've had both. I have never had a super high value car, depending on what your opinion of that is, on HP. The most expensive car I've had on HP was my S-Class, and it wasn't mad expensive, in my opinion, and it was fine. Neither of these really matter. The question to ask yourself is, can you afford it? And if you can afford it, generally I would say go for it. HP, for those of you who don't know the difference, you will have the whole car paid off by the end of the term. PCP, you don't, you have a balloon payment. I have never had to pay a balloon payment. I bought my AMG GT out of the finance agreement, so whilst I owned that, I just went and paid it off. I've bought cars cash, like my Rolls Royce and my i8. I've had PCP, like my GT was PCP when I first got it. My McLaren's not, that's a different type of agreement. It kind of doesn't really matter. Anytime I've been coming up to thinking about, oh, I want to sell this, you don't need to pay the balloon. You can go and sell the car and that pays the balloon. So I would be more inclined to say PCP. If you have a budget of, say, £500 a month, you will get a nicer car on PCP than you will HP. Liam Begbie asked me what car's next. To be honest, I really like the lineup I've got just now. It's very much a dream lineup for me. But I would quite like to go one step up with each car. I would like, instead of having the Ghost, to move on to the Rolls-Royce Cullinan, Rolls-Royce's 4x4. I've been loving my experience with McLaren. They're notorious for braking. I've had a couple of issues with mine, nothing major. And to be fair, they've all been rectified pretty easily. So I'd like to change my 570 Spider to potentially a 720S. I'd really like to have one of those. I think they're one of the nicest McLarens, and anything above that I think is just too much for the road. And my X3M competition, I'd love to have maybe an X5M competition, but then when I think about it, it's quite similar to the Cullinan, so I'd maybe change that for something like an RS6. But I definitely don't see me adding anything electric for those that are maybe curious. EMCG2112 asked, what's harder, 0 to 100k or 100k to 1 million? 0 to 100k by far. Let's just say that you started with £1,000, right, instead of just zero. £1,000 isn't much more than zero in the grand scheme of things, right? So if you started with £1,000 to get to 100k, that's an 100x. If you start with 100k going to 1 million, that's a 10x. It's a very easy way to put it, right? And you just go, yeah, that's simple maths. Once you've made 100k, and you are technically, I guess, at that point, you're probably in the top 1 or 2% of earners in your country generally. That's, you achieve something statistically that's so much harder, and you've got a system now, a blueprint, a contract, whatever has helped you do that, that you can then build on and try and replicate in a larger way. You can look and go, okay, it cost me, you know, £35,000 investing into ads and different things to make 100,000. It's quite easy to then see, okay, where do I need to increase my spend to try and get closer to $1 million? So I would definitely say 100k to $1 million is easier. What's your biggest fear? What is my biggest fear? I'm not really scared of anything, to be fair. There's stuff that I don't like losing. I hate losing. My biggest fear is probably being in a position where I couldn't help people that mattered to me. So being in a position if I was someone who maybe wasn't entrepreneurial or didn't have a good income, and having people fall into stressful situations that I can't solve. I'm very much a problem solver. I like to solve people's problems. I guess that's, again, the backbone of what we've done with Yes, bringing people a solution to be able to actually go out there and live a life that they enjoy and build a business that's going to pay them for life should they run it appropriately and follow the system correctly. But that also falls into my family and my partner and all that stuff as well. So I'm big on providing, big on solving problems, and if I was ever in a position not to do that, that to me would be failure as a man. Cole Cambro asked me, what's the best trait you see in successful Yes Academy students? Cole, you actually spelled students wrong. You wrote studnets, but I know that you're a well-educated Bearsden man, so I'll just correct that for you. The best trait I see in the most successful Yes Academy students are those that spend the most time working on creating a bulletproof headspace. When we go back to the start of this video and, you know, dealing with stresses in business that Andy asked me, your income can only ever grow to the extent that you do. If you being a fitness entrepreneur, Cole, you'll understand this as well, because your body and your physique will only grow to the extent that you train it and you fuel it. And business is very much the same in terms of consumption. The people who consume solid content, such as stuff that's inside the academy, but also change what they watch on TV, change what they watch on YouTube, and actually make a very large lifestyle change. That also goes down to changing the circles in which they operate and move, finding new friends, more entrepreneurial friends, stuff like that. That is where I see the biggest difference being made. Now, that's quite generalist when people think about that, because you'd think I would maybe say something more specific, or the people who invest in this, or the people who do this, or employ that, and blah, 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 blah. But all of these things start with a very simple foundation. A very simple foundation, and that is changing what comes into your head, what stays in your head, and how you manage all those problems that come with having a business. Because having a business isn't always easy. You can make it easier with good mentors, and you can make it easier with, you know, better systems to follow, and there is so many ways to mitigate stuff being hard in business, but it's never going to be easy. And the most successful students are those that carry the most mental fortitude. And that is why we have such a huge, huge, huge push and encouragement to our students to continually building upon the foundations that they create in terms of mental strength with us at the Yes Academy, because that is something that's not only going to affect them positively in business, but it's also going to affect them positively in all areas of life, whether that be relationships, athletic endeavours, or otherwise. So my name's Richard Dixon, that's me. I've completed our Q&A for today. If you've enjoyed today's content, maybe this is your first time ever watching one of my videos, you can head down onto my channel below. There is hours of content for you to go through that are going to give you a huge amount of value in business. You're going to probably find it entertaining as well, because not everything I do is super serious entrepreneurial businessman type stuff. If you enjoyed this video, please feel free to leave a like and also subscribe. I'm putting a huge push and a huge emphasis on the stuff that I put out there on the internet just now, and I'm really trying to provide as much value as possible for entrepreneurs around the world, and YouTube is going to be one of those places where I host a huge amount of my content. So if you're interested in finding out more about business, how you can be a business owner, how you can improve your current business, or you just like fast cars and people doing fun shit, this is the place for you to be. So definitely subscribe down below, and I'll catch you all soon.